According to Transparency International, Syria is one of the countries most affected by corruption. Corruption is defined as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain or advantage. Indeed, corrupt state and semi-state structures were one of the problems that led to the 2011 revolution. Nonetheless, an attitude has also emerged within broad sections of the Syrian opposition that does not always consistently pursue corruption and the taking of advantage within its own ranks, and often does not even recognize it as such. Although it's evident that corruption torpedoes any system, no matter how progressive it may appear on paper, and weakens the administration, economy and society in the long term, the opposition has so far given little thought to what measures are suitable for tackling corruption at the various levels of government and in the various sectors of society. To change this, the European Centre for Kurdish Studies organized the workshop One Hand Washes the Other, Corruption as a Social Challenge. As an introduction, we conducted a simulation game on corruption and corruption prevention together with the organization Quiz. Afterwards, the participants discussed with various experts how corruption arises and which countermeasures are promising. Two basic attitudes were identified in dealing with corruption. At the first, sees corruption primarily as an ethnical problem that must be addressed through education. According to the other stance, corruption is a structural problem that must be addressed legislatively and institutionally so that there are no incentives to corrupt or high incentives not to corrupt. In fact, the two stances are mutually exclusive but complementary. The Indian scholar and activist T.R. Raghunandan put corruption in the following formula. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretion minus accountability. Corruption can, accordingly, be influenced by acting on all these factors. It can, for example, help to replace monopolies with actors who compete with each other and allow people to switch from corrupt to others. However, it should be noted that privatization and competition can only be expected to positively affect corruption if clear competition rules apply. Discretion, in other words, the scope for decision-making by authorities, can be reduced by clear and transparent rules. The use of certain technologies, such as ticket apps or electronic tax returns, can also be helpful in this regard. Finally, corruption can be reduced by strengthening accountability. This is done, for instance, by better equipping law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies, strengthening the public and civil society. One of the most effective measures to combat corruption is strengthening democracy and democratic control of all state authorities. Democratic conditions require that the financing of politics is transparent and that the candidates and political parties disclose their finances. Another central aspect is the rule of law, which includes an independent judiciary. According to Professor Eva Maria Belzer of the University of Fribourg, decentralization can also facilitate the fight against corruption. If taxes and fees are levied and spent locally, it is usually more accessible for the population to identify grievances and take actions against the abuse of power. In dictatorial regimes like Syria, where power is neither legalized nor controlled, corruption is only a symptom of generalized abuse of power. But it is precisely under such circumstances that it is essential and possible to take initial measures against corruption. Even small successes can contribute to people coming into their own and changing the general attitude towards corruption. Hind Kabarat put it in a nutshell in a closing statement. Everyone can and must start fighting corruption within themselves, with their own parties and organizations.